This is going to be a Judas reading. And it may come across as stupid. It's obviously somebody that hasn't been educated as much as they have by now. If it's old enough to drink, it was written in 1993. Oh, no, it's not. 20. Yeah, it's old enough to drink if it's old enough to die. But as it turns out, I read the first page of it. Didn't want to go any further because, well, who knows what's in here. It might shock me. As it turns out, I was at Michigan State at this time. Had to write a paper for somebody. These people that make you write your ideas, like they've got nothing better to do than reading stupid shit all day. And they say, you got to write a paper. And so evidently, at this time, I was in a psychology program at Michigan State. So it's like a job interview or something they made us write. And so it starts like this. Thanksgiving is a day when humans would normally think of presenting offerings to gods. On that day in 1969, however, the gods presented an offering to humans in a little hospital in Petoskey, Michigan. On November 27th of this year, 1993, I will turn 24 years old. And within those 24 years, the opportunities have been allotted, enabling me to experience life in a succulently, a fulfilling manner. Succulent. Even as I tasted the salt in every bead of sweat from my brow with each step down the path. My name is J. Archer Alderquist, and I am applying for the position of clinical psychologist. As can be guessed by aforementioned material, I was born in Petoskey, Michigan. I grew up in a farm-type environment in Gaylord, Michigan, with my parents, 2 brothers and a sister. It could be said that my parents were an influence in my career choice simply through the intrigue they instilled in me regarding the source of their continued coexistence. They are freaks. They seem to hate each other, yet they still go on together. And I realize they are not the only couple prolonging the eternal charade. Couples are doing it everywhere and have been for years. The aspects of adult dependency have baffled me for years. My entire family seems to be an infinite source of psychological research, and I sometimes wonder how I escaped intact. Although at other times I am left wondering if I truly did. Self-deception is always something to consider, but for now I shall proceed. My 6 years, my first 6 years of school were spent in a Catholic school, going on thereafter to graduate from Gaylord High School, a public school. 3 of my 4 high school years were spent as part of the football team, and I decided the wrestling team would be a good experience for my senior year. Just the fact that I was not expected to achieve any great heights by wrestling for only 1 year should convey the nature of my desire to learn for the pure knowledge of a subject, even though there may be scant hope of ever reveling in the application of that knowledge. I've used it again and again through the years. Knowledge alone can be considered a tool in itself, even if never applied, but merely through self-confidence it constructs through possession. Getting what I want and need is something I have seemed to be rather adept at through the journey some would call my life. Though it has never been easy, always a product of hard work and sacrifice. The best things rarely come easy, and if they do not last long. As a child of 6, I saw a man fall from the sky suspended by silk and string. From that day, I longed to do the same. Several years later, I decided that I wanted to go to college but lacked the resources. In an attempt to achieve my goals, I received the GI Bill for college by enlisting in the U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division. Well, I ended up in the 82nd. I didn't enlist in it, but airborne training was in my contract. They had to give me that for me to join. And so where are they going to put me but the 82nd? Nobody's ever known what to do with me. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Within my 4-year tour, I was deployed August 13th, 1990 to the Persian Gulf, spent time in Saudi Arabia and Iraq, and redeployed to the United States on April 2nd, 1991. I feel lucky that I was surrounded by several people plagued by the sounds of several coffin lids slowly closing all around them, including my own. This was not the first time in my life I had accepted death's cold embrace, but it was the first time I had seen her across the crowded room. It was the first time I was allowed to watch her many dances as she waded through the corpses of others, advancing toward me from across the morgue. Her eyes danced, too, with her wild imaginings of what she had in mind for me, and I caught glimpses of her ideas through those which were once her eyes, as light glinted and danced in those fiery sockets. Some might believe I ought to be patient, a patient. Some may believe I ought to be a patient rather than a therapist while considering this, but my experiences only reinforce my ability to help others simply because I have been there, had a beer there. I'll drink to that. After my term of service expired, I took some time and money I had saved in the military and traveled Europe, experiencing not only different cultures and attitudes, but the homeless people in different cultures. I had spent 1.5 years in college at Michigan State when opening my second summer break. When over my second summer break. I mean, look, I had some weird, I had a weird font that I wrote it in to turn it in, so sometimes over looks funny and you get it. I'm a smart guy. I'm cognitively repaired. I had spent 1.5 years in college at Michigan State University when over my second summer break, I picked up and with a friend went up to work in Alaska in the fishing industry to earn money for my education. The fishing vessel Panda had hired my friend and me out of Seattle. After 3 weeks of work with a paycheck of $103, I got off the boat on Kodiak Island, Alaska, with no way to the mainland and virtually no money. I turned to the homeless shelter and began looking for a job so I could make it home, or at least to my car in Seattle. For the following 1.5 months, I lived out of the homeless shelter, exposed to the sordid lies and sometimes incoherent ramblings of others spending their lives there. I understand these people, how they feel when daunted, how they feel when jeered at and ridiculed, how they feel when hungry. I was one of them. I've always mentioned a couple of jobs. I've already mentioned a couple of jobs I have held in my lifetime that I consider as being major. As a teenager, I held ordinary burger boy, bag boy, pizza guy jobs, and for the summer of '92, a building contractor hired me to build homes. As is evident, I have walked my life down a very twisted path with many forks, some being in the tongue. From Christian to warrior, from home builder to homeless, from provider to provided for, but always an observer. I have always tried to watch those around me, to feel them. I know what people are thinking when they think they are all alone, whether it be in a small room or a huge, empty world. In addition to my schooling, I have my knowledge of a large spectrum of humanity, what some would call empathy. I look forward to the possibility of working with you and your clients. I'm a people person. Just kidding. There. You want to talk about what it takes to be in the university and have to write bullshit papers for people? That's why I went to college. I went to university so that I could see how other people thought and really a big part of that was knowing I had to know how difficult it can be to get through it when all these people act like they work so hard in college and they're a C student doing meteorology in Michigan and they can't get the fucking weather right in the place where it matters. There's a reason I never wrote papers for these fucking people. Most of them. That was one of them. Didn't deserve to have a paper. It's because I'm going to tell you what I think and you're going to fucking hate me for it. I know who your senators and congressmen are. They're people that just fucked around their whole lives in colleges and everything. You're going to look at the mayhem that one side creates over another. You have to accept that some of them at least might have wanted to try. This has been a Judas reading. And, well, fuck them.